When I heard that Stellaris was going to get a VR game, I thought, how the hell could this possibly work? But my question got answered when Ghost Signal launched for Quest 2, but not for PSVR2. But now it's come over to the headset. Is it any good, and is it worth buying? Well, this isn't a straight to VR conversion of the Stellaris game, and if you followed it at all, you'll probably know that. I actually didn't. I went completely blind into this game, so I was hit with a realization that this is a roguelite, and that's a word that's going to turn off a lot of people in the PSVR2 space. People feel like we get too many roguelites, but this one is very special, and if you're a sci-fi fan, then I'd implore you to check it out or even get it, because this isn't your usual shooter where you run between levels like Synapse or The Light Brigade, and while I love those games, they're shooters. Stellaris is not. Stellaris is more of a strategy game that's in third person as you command a ship through space, jumping between levels, upgrading its systems, destroying enemies, and seeing the wonders and civilizations, whether they're friendly or enemy, of the depths of unexplored space. I'm so down for this. But there's depth to the fog, and to like the. It's not just like a What am I trying to say here? It's not just like a skybox. There's layers. Now I actually haven't finished Stellaris. My schedule is very, very busy lately. But I've played around 2 to 3 hours of the game, and it's given me enough understanding and a grips of it to recommend it to anybody who likes the flat screen games or likes the look of this and wants, you know, a space combat game that has a bit of a weird third person twist to it on PSVR2. Because for all intents and purposes, this feels like the flat screen game, even though you're commanding one ship and you're not doing some massive overarching galaxy-wide plan. This feels like Stellaris. The same sounds are here, the same factions, races, names, and even voices, like the actual tutorial voice is from the mainline Stellaris games, if I remember right. It fits in perfectly, and I was worried that the game would really lose its Stellaris identity, but it doesn't at all, and it's really, really immersive in that sense. So it's a lock and fire. Oh, that's cool, look at that. That's so sick. Oh, they've got all the Stellaris little, what are they called? The avatars in the game that move, but it's 3D. Like, this arm is pretty close to me. This arm's further away. It's got depth. That's really cool. Let's go into some of my biggest praises, because honestly, I can't think of much negative to say about this game. For all the talk of PSVR2 having some dud releases, Project Wingman was not a good start to October. Stellaris is my real first game of October, because oh my god, is it brilliant. And visually, it looks incredible. I think it's running at 90 Hz. I don't think it's reprojected. The game feels too smooth for that, or if it is reprojected, I really didn't notice. In terms of resolution, everything's incredibly sharp. Even ships in the distance, wandering space whales, planets and megastructures alike, everything you can make out perfectly clearly, and the scale that's presented here is absolutely ridiculous at points. The game visually, in terms of art direction, keeps that Stellaris feeling and just blew me away at every single new level that I encountered, a new enemy type that I encountered, or new creature. What is this? Oh shit. Creature. I'll always take the chance to see a space whale. Always.
A mythical sky dragon.
Whoa.
New entry to view, Captain.
Oh. Restore hull completely. Dragon's Egg level 1. I'm gonna go with the Dragon's Egg. Oh my god, I've got a little creature. That's so cool. Oh my god. Especially in the first couple of hours that I've played, you're consistently seeing new things, whether it's a different icon on the map that alludes to a new enemy type, or a new location that's generated for you to see, a new backdrop, whatever it is, you're constantly seeing new things throughout the first couple of hours, and it really keeps the gameplay fresh and keeps you wondering what you're really going to find out there. Enemy types will change as you get further into space. You'll find different traders offering you different things. You'll find massive intergalactic creatures that you'd only be relegated to seeing on the flat screen Stellaris games until now, but they're here and they're amazing looking. Where's the whale? I don't see a space whale.
A void spawn was just born.
Oh my god, okay, I see it. I see this place well. Holy shit. That's ridiculous. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in VR.
Now, sure, a game can look great, but it can also be incredibly boring, but luckily Stellaris isn't. The combat here is slightly weird, and it took me a second to get my head around, but after you get used to it, it feels really natural, and is a good blend of kind of fast-paced action and a mix of slowing it down when you need to and making strategic decisions. Essentially how it works is that you're taken to this new area of space every time you go to a new section of space, and you're sat there in third person and you control the ship, except you're not following the ship in a chase cam, you're static while the ship flies around the space around you, and you decide where it goes by drawing paths, using a boost button if you need to fly faster to avoid enemies, and aiming with your hand at what you want your ship to shoot at, whether it's with missiles or lasers or projectile-based weapons. Each of the weapons given to you have their uses, and combat gets really intuitive after a while. It helps that when you're moving, the game slows down time in combat situations, meaning you can plan out your moves pretty easily. Combat can get fairly hard as you progress further into the game, especially when you're in the early days and you haven't unlocked many of the baseline upgrades that you keep no matter how many runs you've been on, similar to Synapse and the Light Brigade and other games where you purchase perks. Getting into further levels when you don't have many of those upgrades unlocked is difficult. Like, the game ramps up in difficulty as you go on, as you'd expect, but it never feels unfair, and if you're strategic enough, you can work your way around most enemies, even if it is a pretty tough fight.
Captain, the Ether Drake is gathering loot for its horde.
I'm sorry? The what is what now? Run, run, run! That would have absolutely annihilated me.
And the replay value is there like it is with Synapse and the Light Brigade for me. I can go on basically an identical run, but I can change things in that run to make it feel fresh. I can take different upgrades, I can prioritize different alien races that I meet, to choose specific paths with them. I can do all sorts to make my run feel fresh, and Ghost Signal uses all these elements to keep its gameplay fresh like most roguelites do, but in a package that I've never really seen done before, which I think makes it quite special.
Can I lock? Kill it. Look at the ship. And it's out. There it goes.
It also helps there's a ton of enemy and NPC variety in what you'll face. You'll come across ships that just fly around and shoot you, ones that shoot missiles, enemy ships that try to ram into you, that you can actually make ram into each other if they're not careful enough. You'll meet enemies that phase out of existence and spawn in tracking mines. There's all sorts of stuff here. And there's also bosses that you can encounter too. The gameplay just feels fresh in terms of combat, and combat is mostly what you'll be doing. So if that wasn't something that had a robust gameplay loop, I'd feel really let down by this game, but the combat's fun. And it's also quite strategic with how you use your missiles, which are finite, and how you use the rest of your weapons, which recharge. Ultimately, Ghost Signal was a game that was on my radar that I was specifically not looking at, so I'd go in blind, and luckily it blew all the expectations that I guess I didn't have out of the water. It's everything that I really wanted from a Stellaris roguelike, which is something that I didn't know I wanted until I played it. And it is one of the best PSVR2 games that I've played. Maybe it's because I love the genre or I love the series, and I just found the gameplay to be really engaging. This isn't going to be for everybody, but if you're a sci-fi fan and you're willing to give it a go, you'll probably have a really good time with this one because it looks great and it plays great. Pretty much the only complaint that I have with this game is that I kind of wish locking onto enemies was done with eye tracking. You put your hand at whichever enemy you want your ship to shoot and then pull the trigger. But I wish that it was eye tracked because sometimes it can be a bit finicky, especially with a load of enemies on screen, to line up that shot properly. But other than that, I find no flaws with Ghost Signal. It's genuinely a great game, and I had a wonderful time playing it, and it feels like it's been a little while since I've said that, and had unanimous praise for a PSVR2 game. It probably hasn't been that long, it's just that I played Project Wingman yesterday, and that kind of tainted me. But I had a wonderful time with this game. I hope you guys also do if you jump in, but that's all I've got to say about it. If you did enjoy, feel free to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.